Brendan, you've had a bit of time to reflect on Wednesday night. How do you look back on just the occasion as a whole, what you got from your players as well?
Well, I think firstly the performance, it was an outstanding team performance. Everything that I'd want, a team full of desire and energy, and then the energy from the stadium was absolutely incredible. So that combination is it's a real force, and we've seen that at the game. So yeah, outstanding performance, really good. Everything I'd want in my team, and only thing missing was a couple more goals.
Results have obviously been good anyway so far this season, but what can a result like that, a performance like that, the occasion with the supporters, what can that do for the team going forward?
Well, I think it obviously can give another layer of confidence. I think so. We as you say, we've started performance-wise really well. The intent in our game, so everything on that front domestically has been really good. But you take it into the Champions League, and to do it at that level is also particularly pleasing, because no matter what is said, every team that plays in the Champions League is there believing that they are a big team, and there are obviously clearly some more prestigious clubs than others because of their history. But every club that goes into that competition has done well, and is they're a champion or a very good team in their own right. So when you're playing that you've got to perform. So for us to play to that level with that pressure was something that didn't surprise me, but it was great to see, because we coped with pressure last year. It's one thing one of the great learnings I've had working with this group of players, that when I've asked them and we've been under pressure, we've dealt with that really well. So that's continued. Took it into the game the other night, and it was just I just felt a real great occasion. I said before the game that I felt really ready going into this competition this year, more so than any other time, and you can see that in the team and how they played.
How much can it help the development of maybe some of the players that haven't played at Champions League level before to experience that and have that belief that they can go out and play that type of football and get a big result?
Yeah, but I think those guys that are sampling it for the first time, we've got new players coming into here. They know that they're coming into a style of play that takes a little bit of time to get used to, purely because of the speed of it and the intricacy of it. So that takes a little bit of time. But they're coming into a winning mentality, and that'll hopefully drive them on and push them on to perform here. So that, and getting a sample of that, and that feeling the other night was really special for those guys, and even guys at Casper who've seen a lot in football. It was just taken aback by the whole experience.
And that application and attitude you got from your players, is it just about rolling that over into Sunday's match?
Well, I think we've seen that's something that we had before it. It's not just as happened on the other night. We've had it before. It's just nice when you could just keep that going. Now that is always the challenge of football. Consistency, but I've seen nothing other than a real good application and desire, and our drive is to keep that going. And this competition is very, very important to me. It was the first one I won as a Celtic manager, so it means everything to me, and we will be going all out Sunday to get to the semi-final.
Have you spoken to John McGlynn since the draw was made? I know the two of you used to work together, of course, are close.
Yeah, you have a whole load of time for John. No, we've exchanged messages and stuff, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him, because I haven't seen him since obviously I left here the first time. But we've always been in contact and spoke a lot on the phone on various things. But I'm really proud of him and what he's done in his career since he's got that opportunity again. What he did at Wraith, what he's now doing at Falkirk, he's done absolutely brilliant. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him. He's a really good guy.
We spoke with John on Tuesday, and he described you, when he spoke to him, as a genius. He said, of all the coaches he's worked with, you're the one that took him to that next level. What does it mean to you to get that kind of praise from a peer like that?
Well, the first thing I would say is don't use that word, right? Because that is, when that gets said, that's when everyone chases you even more. So I don't need that. right? He was secondly. No, listen. When I came into here, we brought in a structure and a way of working, and a mentality that he was a part of. He's seen it firsthand. He was in it, and he knows how I work and the levels that I go to. So, but no, he John always went the extra mile for me. He knew there was a big demand for the job that he had here and what I wanted, and he was a real team player. So, but no, I'm more comfortable talking about him and his achievements. He's done fantastic, and I'm just delighted for him. And yeah, and he'll have a great season, but not at the weekend.
Are you at all surprised that he's not been linked with more Premiership jobs, given that's, I think, 43 league games unbeaten he's gone so far?
Yeah, it does surprise me. I think that sometimes what can happen is that experience gets overlooked because there's maybe a trend for a younger manager to come in with fresh ideas and new ideas or whatever else is. But I still think you can be really experienced and have a young mind, and that young mind with the experience can really take clubs forward. So, but he may well have done. I'm not sure whether he's declared that or not, but he may well have done and just been happy where he is. But there's absolutely no doubt what he's produced in the 2 jobs since he left here has been absolutely brilliant. The style of football, the game he looks to play, it's very, very impressive. So that opportunity will, if it hasn't, then I'm pretty sure that would come for him, because like I said, if you look at Gasparini, 66 years of age, still young mind, fresh, and really driving on the vision of his club there. So I think that as long as you have that young mind but fresh and experienced, then that can really help any club. And John is one of those guys that get wonderful enthusiasm for the game. A really authentic guy who could take teams forward, and without any disrespect to Wraith and to Falkirk, then he can certainly do that at a higher level.
And you know from your previous time here what great Celtic teams look like. Does it feel like you're building something special just now with this squad?
Yeah, I think it's just hopefully over time that's the case. I think what I'm starting to see now is the identity in the team that I wanted. That took a little bit of time, but we're clearly seeing, or I'm seeing what I want to see, which is good. And now it's just building on that and building a really successful team. As I said, our job here at Celtic is to honour and protect the great history of this club and the winning mentality, but for the modern team to make our own history. So yeah, we're in a really good place, but still a long way for us to go.
And then obviously you're on a strong run yourself at the minute. In your previous time here, you were 60 odd games unbeaten. Falkirk
69.
69, sorry. 60 odd, I couldn't remember that. Falkirk have obviously gone 43 unbeaten in the league. How powerful is that as a team that you've got that? Is that going to make a strong opponent even stronger when you're facing that as well?
Yeah. I think that when you go through that, it tells you everything about the mentality that they have. Obviously, been on an incredible run and going through and not losing a game in the league, and then bringing that up into the championship, doing so well. Of course, it tells you that they've got really good characters in there and guys that John trusts, and I know even only recently they've had a few results that looked like it was going to be a draw or whatever, and then they end up winning. So that tells you everything about the mentality in the squad. And I know, like, so young Calvin Miller, who's there. Calvin was a brilliant young player for me here. Didn't quite kick on. He was keen to get out and play, but I really liked his game. He was quick, he was direct, he was left-sided. He's playing more off the right now and cutting inside, but when he was here I really liked his qualities, and they got players that have on either side that are dangerous players up front. So so all in the mix, that gives them confidence. Clearly winning games and that and the league title and and then taking that through this season, clearly it gives you confidence.
You mentioned already just how much this competition means to you, and it was the only trophy that you weren't able to retain last season. Just how important is it that this season you make sure that the Scottish League Cup comes back here?
Well, we have work to do. We would have to win our next 3 games to do that, but this game now, it's a bit, I always think, get to Hampden and then we assess it from there, and Hampden is a place I've always loved, with the pitch and the size of the pitch and everything else and the support that we have there. So but yeah, we've got a really important job at the weekend to get done, and that's clearly our objective. I said that at the beginning. Every domestic trophy we want to fight for, and that hasn't changed.
Just to go back to John McGlynn, was the first time you managed against him Hearts Liverpool?
Yes.
What do you remember from those 2 games in particular?
That was the first time I'd met John. We'd obviously played in the game at Tynecastle, and then the return leg at Anfield in my first season. So that was when I first had come across him. Yeah, and listen, Hearts did really well on that in those games at the time. I knew it was always going to be a tough one at Tynecastle, which was a draw, and then the one at Anfield, they played with no fear, and yeah, did well. So that was my first chance to come across him, and then of course when I came to here, I'd remembered him from that, and it was some nice stories then.
Any team news ahead of this weekend? Didn't see Alistair Johnson training. What's the latest with him?
Yeah, we get a few players we niggle, so we'll have a wee look at that and assess that by end of play tomorrow. So we won't take any risk on any players, but we one or two. It was a second day recovery as well, so there was a group of the players out recovering, a group training hard, and then 1 or 2 inside, just make an extra recovery inside rather than out.
Brilliant. Just get back to all night for a minute. When you sat here at the start of February and you talked about trying to persuade the club to be a wee bit braver, do you think that was vindicated in the performance? I think specifically the likes of Engels, what he delivered despite the big price tag. I think that you could have proved a point to a certain extent.
No, I didn't. I didn't prove a point. I think it was just a case of the board done great. You know, they got the players in, and I said right the way through the window, I know what we wanted, and we all wanted the same thing. And by the end of the window, if we got the players that we could bring in that could help us, then it'd be a great achievement by all. And then eventually we did that. And now you see, when you have that calibre of player in, what it can do. You know, now 11 million or 1.5 million, I will always look to develop and improve a player, whatever price that is, or what's a young player coming through the academy. But looking at this particular group coming in last year and then having worked with them and then seeing how we want to progress, there was certain characteristics that I felt that we needed, and especially knowing in the back of the mind that there's a possibility of, say, Matt going. Not only are you losing goals, are you losing presence, you're losing a set piece expert, because he was very good on those. So knowing that Arna was that fit at all that profile, then that's why we were keen to get him in and help us. So I think the other night was a great vindication for everyone. I think for the board and the money they've spent, they will have enjoyed hopefully watching the team, the supporters, watching the game. They've seen the verve in the team, the dynamism, everything that they'd want, and attacking football and representing them, and then the players themselves on the pitch doing a brilliant job, fighting for their team, fighting for their club, and producing great football, which is the demand. So I think everyone was vindicated, really.
Do you feel, unlike last season, where there's maybe a little bit of a dip later in these games, that now you're bringing on players and the intensity seems to remain the same? Is that one of the key differences?
Yeah, I think it is. I think there's a big cost to how we play. There's a cost in energy, and when that starts to drop a little bit, that ability to be able to make changes, to bring in, to sustain that is very, very important. And I think we've seen that right to the very end. that was probably something that last season maybe at times it did dip. We were having sort of periods, but it was maybe too inconsistent. But through to the end of the season and end of the pre-season, we were able to really grab a hold of everything in terms of that element of fitness and tenacity, and obviously been able to roll that out. So the subs are so important for us, like 5 subs now, and for us gives us every chance to keep that energy and that intensity, and I think we've seen that through over the course of this early part of the season in every game.
With that in mind, Brendan, do you have to rein some of them in sometimes? I guess everybody who was involved and started on Wednesday wants to start again on Sunday, but you need to say, look, we need to turn this around a wee bit.
Yeah. I just think it's that's what I get paid for. I get paid. My job is a lot of thinking. It's a lot of making decisions and looking at different situations, and so but there's no point in having a strong squad if you're not going to use them. I think it was the beginning of the season. It was you're 1 game a week, so there's not quite the same demand. But we were coming into a run of 6 games in 23 days, and there was no way that I'd be using the same team in all of those games, because we want to keep that intensity and keep that mentality. And obviously for as the season goes on, I need to have a strong squad. So it's great. Every player will always want to play, and they'll be disappointed when they don't. But they're paid to deliver, and these players are delivering, and that's what we want to continue.
Just on the intensity, Brendan, I don't know if you saw Joe Hart doing the analysis of the match the other night, but he was pointing out to the viewers the role that Daisen Maeda plays and his energy. How important is he in terms of setting the tone for that? Because you saw when he was tracking back, suddenly other players were going with him, and trying to hunt the ball down. How vital is he to that whole thing? Yeah,
well, that's where the game starts. People, I've seen reports, obviously, in terms of the team doing very well and keeping clean sheets, and the goalkeeper in the back 4, and it starts at the front. And I think what we're seeing from all those guys at the top of the pitch, that when they see it, they're gone, and then that's our trigger in reference to go. And I would doubt there's anyone better in world football than Daisen Maeda in that context. I watched an image of the game where, and this is towards the end of the game, and if you see the clip back in the game on a certain angle, he's making a recovery run into the sort of what would be the left back position, tracking their right back, thinking the ball's going to come across. But then the ball goes instead to the centre half, and he presses it and nicks it, and is away. So that level of, now even if you can do that, it's the will and desire to do it, which most players won't have. That he could have easily dropped that press. He didn't have to do that one. That was the one that was important. He went, realised it wasn't getting there, and he actually got to the centre half before the guy that should have got there. It's incredible. It's unbelievable pressing, but that's mentality. That is.
Given that level of intensity you're talking about from him, do you have to treat him any differently in terms of rest or anything like that?
No, we have to treat all the players and recover them and look at them in various ways. Obviously, I've got to be mindful as well. He's playing internationals and travelling around the world a lot of the time. So these are the things that's important for you. I look, if you look towards, you're also preparing now for the end of the season as well, making sure you're at times conserving energy in the right moments. But no, he's like every player. We always look closely at them and at what they're eating and how they're training and how they're working, and if we have to recover them or start them, so all of that's all part of our programme.